Welcome back, everybody. Today we're gonna be looking at dark case files, unsolved mysteries. And if that's not enough for you, there's also going to be some serial killer edition thrown in here as well. This is a new series that we've started this month. We're doing these themed cases. Each episode will have a different theme, and this one is going to be about unsolved mysteries. Now, I know that all of the episodes are technically unsolved, but I mean that more like no leads, very little information, those kinds of episodes today. I just want to say thanks for everyone who tuned into our latest episode, which was our Patreon exclusive. It was a case in Nashville from 1976 where a woman was brutally murdered and her husband became the prime suspect because he had an airtight alibi. We actually got to speak to his son, who still insists his dad is innocent to this day. So it was pretty cool. If you want access to that episode and all of our other Patreon exclusives, head over to our page and check out the membership options. Every dollar spent on our page goes directly to the production of these videos. Also, before we get into today's case, let me tell you about our brand new store. It's been a long time coming, but we finally have merch. There's t-shirts, hoodies, stickers, mugs, and much more. All the links are down below. Now on to the case. This first one is going to take us up to Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada. On June 2001, 23-year-old Jill State left her apartment. She told her boyfriend she was going to meet up with a friend, and then later that evening they were going to go out for dinner. Her boyfriend dropped her off at the nearby Kitsilano neighborhood, and then he went off to work. That was the last time anyone saw Jill alive. Her family didn't report her missing until 3 days later, when they hadn't heard from her and her phone had been going straight to voicemail. The police searched for her and even found her car 2 days later in the same parking spot where her boyfriend had dropped her off. They tracked her cell phone signal to a home on Large Street and obtained a warrant to search the property. Inside the house, they found what appeared to be blood on the basement stairs. It was sent away for testing, but it came back as negative for human blood. It tested positive for animal blood instead. Jill was officially listed as missing, and the police put together a task force to find her. They followed up on hundreds of tips and conducted dozens of interviews, but hit a dead end. The only person of interest they had was a man named William Shaw. He was a 36-year-old registered sex offender with a history of violence against women. He lived in the home where the police found the possible blood, and he was the last person who had been seen with Jill. He denied having seen her since the night she disappeared. The police suspected that Jill had been taken against her will and that she had most likely been sexually assaulted. When asked about this, Sean said that he wasn't sure why he was being questioned because he wasn't involved in any illegal activities. He did admit to knowing Jill casually. He claimed they had met through a mutual friend and that he had given her a ride home the previous week after she had gotten drunk at a nightclub. As the investigation continued, the police uncovered more information about Sean. It turns out that he had been released from prison just 4 months prior to Jill's disappearance. He had served 5 years of a 6-year sentence after he had been convicted of sexual assault. The victim in that case was a 14-year-old girl. He had approached her while she was walking home and forced her into a secluded area where he assaulted her. He was arrested shortly afterwards and charged with sexual assault and kidnapping. He pleaded guilty to both charges and received the 6-year sentence. In addition to that, William Shaw had also been investigated in connection with another assault that happened in 1997. A jogger had been attacked from behind, and a man fitting William's description had been seen running away from the scene. He was never charged in that case, though. As the weeks turned into months, the police began to grow frustrated. They felt that William was hiding something, but he continued to lawyer up and refused to answer any more questions. They also had a hard time getting their neighbors to talk. Several people said that they had heard shouting and screaming coming from inside the house in the weeks leading up to Jill's disappearance, but they assumed it was just a noisy tenant. One neighbor even reported seeing what looked like blood on the wall outside of the house, but the police never looked into it. In the end, the case went cold and the police had no new leads. But in 2013, the case was reopened when DNA technology improved. The blood that had been found in the basement was tested again. This time it came back as a match for Jill, confirming that she had been at that house. As for William, he had moved to Ontario and married one of his co-workers. He was arrested and brought back to British Columbia to face questioning. He once again denied having anything to do with Jill E's disappearance, and he stuck to that story throughout the entire trial. The prosecution argued that he had abducted Jill, took her back to his house, and it was there that he killed her. At the end of the day, though, the police never recovered a body and they couldn't prove that Jill had even died. After the trial ended, William went back to Ontario and resumed his life as a free man. To this day, he continues to deny any involvement in her disappearance, and neither the police nor Jill E's family believe him. They think that he knows what happened to her and that he's simply refusing to cooperate. Our next case is going to keep us in Canada and bring us over to Winnipeg, Manitoba. On July 1981, Helen Betty Oslin left her home to go to the local grocery store. She was a 20-year-old member of the Manitoba First Nations and was described as being an outgoing young woman with a great sense of humor. That morning she had woken up early, made breakfast for her kids, and then left to run some errands. Her son would later tell the police that it was unusual for his mom to leave the kids for so long, but she must have had something come up at the store, and that is why she stayed out so late. Helen was supposed to pick up some supplies for a craft project she was working on, and then she was going to stop by her sister's house afterwards. She never showed up, and her family grew concerned. Helen had a habit of staying out late, and sometimes she would forget to call home, but she never stayed out longer than 24 hours without checking in. At around p.m. that evening, her sister went to the local police station and reported her missing. That same day, a hunter came across some clothes and personal belongings that had washed up along the shore. Upon closer inspection, he realized that the clothes were identical to a set that Helen had been wearing when she went to the store that morning. He also recognized her beaded purse, which was sitting nearby. Helen was officially listed as missing, and the police launched an extensive search. They combed through the area where the clothes had been found, but aside from those items, they couldn't turn up anything else. The first officer on the case believed that Helen might have run away from home or perhaps gone on a weekend trip with some friends. However, as the days passed, it became clear that none of those theories were true. The police interviewed everyone in Helen's life, but no one could think of a single reason why she would have wanted to run away. On August, 3 weeks after Helen had vanished, her body was pulled from the Red River. An autopsy revealed that she had drowned, but there were no signs of trauma or foul play. Despite this, her family wasn't convinced that she had simply fallen into the river and died. They thought that someone had intentionally pushed her in. The police investigated this further and learned that Helen had been out with 2 men the night before. One of them was a casual acquaintance of Helen's, someone she had known for years but hadn't really spoken to recently. The other was a 25-year-old police officer named Zane Floyd. He had recently separated from his wife and was having an affair with Helen. According to the officer, the two had met up with the other man at a bar, and they had all consumed a large amount of alcohol. Afterwards, the 3 of them went to Helen's house, and the officer left around midnight. He said that he wasn't involved in any criminal activity and had nothing to hide. He agreed to take a polygraph test and submit a sample of his DNA. In addition to that, the other man was also questioned, but both of them were cleared as suspects and the case went cold. To this day, the police don't know what happened to Helen. They haven't ruled out the possibility that she fell into the river and drowned accidentally, but they haven't ruled out the possibility that the man she was with could have been responsible. And that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you next time.